Separation of substances. Learning objectives. Pure substance. Mixtures. Properties of mixtures. Need for separation of components of a mixture. Various methods of separation. We use many substances such as vegetables, fruits, grains, salt etc. while cooking food. However, a large number of substances available in nature require some kind of cleaning and purification. We can say that almost everything that exists is a mixture. For example, milk is a mixture. We separate butter from it. We pick stones from rice and grain. We remove the skin of vegetables and fruits. Most of the naturally occurring substances are found as mixtures. You might therefore be wondering, what is a pure substance? How do we know whether a substance is pure or not? Let us define a pure substance and a mixture. We will further discuss the ways of cleaning of unwanted material in our food products. Picking stones from rice. Pure substance. We know that mixtures contain molecules of two or more substances. If a substance contains only one type of molecules, it is called a pure substance. Very few pure substances are found in nature. For example, sugar or salt in crystalline form is a pure substance. Most of the chemicals used in the laboratory for experimental work are pure. All elements and compounds are pure substance. Examples of pure substances are gold, silver, copper, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, common salt, sugar etc. Sugar. Salt. Mixture. A mixture is a substance made up of two or more elements or compounds in any ratio. For example, tap water used for drinking is a mixture. In addition to water, it contains dissolved salts and air. Sea water is a mixture. It has several salts dissolved in it. Air is a mixture of several gases, such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor etc. Milk is a mixture of water, cream and other substances. A cup of tea contains water, sugar, milk and abstract of tea leaves. Vinegar is a mixture of acetic acid and water. Types of mixtures. A mixture where the various components of the mixture can be easily observed is called a heterogeneous mixture. If you mix sugar and sand together, you can see the sugar crystals and sand particles separately. A mixture where its parts cannot be seen separately is called a homogeneous mixtures. If you mix sugar in water, both sugar and water particles exist separately in the mixture, but they cannot be observed separately. Properties of mixture. A pure substance has its characteristic properties such as melting point and boiling point. Freezing point of pure water is 0 degrees Celsius and the boiling point of pure water is 100 degrees Celsius. These are the characteristic properties of pure water. These values change if impurities are added to water. If we add common salt into water, the water will boil at a temperature higher than 100 degrees Celsius and freeze at a temperature lower than 0 degrees Celsius. Such characteristic properties may therefore be used to test whether a substance is pure or not. The constituents of a mixture may be in any ratio. Sometimes the different materials present in a mixture can be clearly seen, for example the mixture of rice and tiny stones. But in most cases, the components of a mixture cannot be easily seen. For example, we can easily tell by looking, dusty wind is a mixture because dust is clearly visible in air. But clean air looks like a single component although it is a mixture of various gases. Need for separation of components of a mixture. We know that a mixture is made up of two or more components. The components of a mixture retain their own separate properties. We get many materials from the nature in mixture form. Unwanted particles or components in any mixture can be separated by various methods like we strain tea before drinking it. We wash rice and rub so as to remove dust before cooking. Similarly, suspended impurities present in water are usually removed by decantation before we drink it, because they may be harmful to us. For obtaining useful components, we require to separate unwanted and harmful components present in a mixture. Hand-picking stones from rice. Straining tea. Dirty water in glass. Therefore, the separation of the components of a mixture is done to separate unwanted components. It is necessary to remove small stones present in rice and pulses. It can be harmful for our teeth and body. Similarly, harmful substances must be removed which are present in river water. Separate harmful components. Salt is removed from sea water to make water fit for drinking. Sea water is harmful for us. Obtain pure and useful components. Crude oil is a mixture of various useful substances such as kerosene oil, diesel, tar, etc. It cannot be put to any use if not separated from these substances. However, if its various substances are separated, then they can also be put to a variety of uses. Thus, separation of substances is essential for our survival. Various methods of separation. For separation of the constituents from a mixture, we must know the properties of the various components of the mixture. The various methods of separation are winnowing, hand-picking, sieving, magnetic separation, sedimentation and decantation, loading, centrifugation, filtration, crystallization, vaporization, sublimation, distillation. In this chapter we will discuss the removal of unwanted material in our food products. Separation of solids. The methods described below are used for separating a solid from a mixture of solids. Winnowing. This is an old method of separating the components of a mixture. It can be carried out on windy days only. Farmers thresh wheat to loosen the grain from the chaff. The mixture of corn grains and chaff is put in a flat container. It is allowed to fall from a height, in presence of wind. As a result, the mixture falls to the ground. The breeze blows away the chaff, while the grain falls down almost vertically. Thus, the mixture gets collected in two separate heaps apart from each other. This process is known as winnowing. A woman separating chaff and grain by winnowing. Hand-picking. As the name suggests, different components of a mixture can be separated by picking them with hands. We often clean wheat, dals, grains and pulses by picking husk, barley, stones etc. with hand. This method of separation is often called hand-picking. Hand-picking is commonly used at home to remove small pieces of stone from wheat, pulses or rice. A man picking stones from dull. Sieving. Sieving is another simple and convenient method of separating particles of different sizes. The sieve is basically an apparatus or utensil in which a wire mesh is fixed tightly in a frame. In this process, the finely grinded particles of components pass through the sieve. At home, sieving of wheat flour is done to separate finely ground flour particles from the coarse particles. A woman sieving flour by sieve. The sieve used for this purpose has very fine air holes. The bigger particles remain on the sieve. Fine sand is also sieved before preparing material for plastering the walls of a building. Magnetic separation. Magnetic separation is used when one of the components of the mixture is magnetic in nature. This method is largely used in industry. Iron scrap can be separated from heaps of waste with the help of strong magnets fitted to cranes. This process is known as magnetic separation. Separation of scrap iron from a heap of waste. Crane. Electromagnet. Scrap iron objects cling to electromagnet. Heap of waste materials. Methods to separate solids from liquids. Sedimentation and decantation. This method is used to separate solids from liquids. For example, mixture of sand and water. For decantation, the mixture is left to made stand in a container for some time. The sand will settle down at the bottom of the container as sediment. The process of settling of the heavy solids at the bottom is called sedimentation. Water containing suspended solid particles of sand. After some time, clear water. Solid particles of sand sediment. After sedimentation, clear liquid is gently poured out without disturbing the sediment. This is called decantation. Decantation can also be used for separating two liquids that do not mix with each other, i.e. they are immiscible. This method can neither be used for two miscible liquids nor for separating solids that are soluble in liquids. Separation of mixture by sedimentation and decantation. Mixture of sand and water. Mixture. Clear water. Sand sediment. Sedimentation. Glass rod. Stand. Clear water. Decantation. Immiscible liquids can also be separated by using a separating funnel. For example, if cooking oil gets mixed with water, we can use the separating funnel. The cooking oil is lighter than water, so it forms a separate layer above the water. Put the mixture in the separating funnel and keep it undisturbed for some time. Carefully open the stopcock of the funnel to drain out water from below. When this is finished, the top layer is removed in another container. Thus we can separate the two liquids. Loading. We may have to use river or lake water sometimes. It has very fine particles of clay suspended in it. They are responsible for making the water muddy. To make the process of sedimentation faster, the process of loading is used. Here, a small piece of alum is tied with a thread and hanged in the water to be cleaned. Separation of suspended clay particles of muddy water by loading them with alum particles. Muddy water containing suspended clay particles. Thread. A piece of alum. Clear water. Clay particles loaded with alum. Alum dissolves in water very easily. As a result, the fine dust particles get loaded and become heavier and settled on at the bottom of the beaker. In other words, alum loads the clay particles. So, they settle down as sediment. The clear water from above is decanted off. Centrifugation. The word centrifugation means rotation around a center point. This is a method for separating the particles suspended in a liquid. When such a liquid is rotated, the heavier particles of the suspended materials move towards the bottom while lighter ones stay on top. The centrifugation or rotation must be done on a fast speed. This process is used in dairies for separating cream from milk. Milk is rotated in a closed container at a very high speed. Cream separates from the milk. It being lighter floats on the surface and can be easily separated. Centrifuge machine. Filtration. We can separate a mixture of undissolved solid particles from a liquid in many other ways. For example, we daily filter tea water to separate tea leaves from it. We may use a clean piece of cloth or strainer for this purpose. A fine mesh is used to separate insoluble solids from liquids. Materials such as a cotton, a layer of sand and a fine clean piece of muslin or filter paper can also be used as filters. Separation of used tea leaves from prepared tea by the process of filtration. Tea containing tea leaves. Tea leaves stop here. Tea strainer having wire mesh as filter. Separation of mixture by filtration. Glass rod. Filter paper cone. Funnel. Mixture of insoluble solid and liquid. Insoluble solid residue. Clear liquid filtrate. THC materials include cotton, wool, charcoal, sand and filter paper. The choice of a filter paper. depends upon the size of the particles of the materials to be removed. To remove small particles, we use a filter paper. Water can be filtered using either a filter paper or pots with cotton, charcoal and sand in them. Separating a soluble solid from its solution. The following methods are used for separating a soluble solid from its solution. Crystallization. Crystallization is the process by which we can separate a pure solid in the form of crystals from a solution. Heat the solution of the solid. Filter this solution through a filter paper to remove all insoluble impurities. Allow the solution to cool down and observe the solution. As it cools down, the crystals of the dissolved solid are formed in the container of the liquid. Separation of common salt dissolved in water by evaporation. Porcelain dish. Burner. Water evaporates. Solution of common salt in water. Common salt is left behind. Vaporization. This method is used to separate solids that have dissolved in liquids. Let us how we can separate common salt dissolved in water. We can heat the solution or leave it in the hot sun. The water will evaporate in the form of vapor and sugar or common salt will be left behind. The above process is in fact used on a large scale to obtain common salt from sea water or lake water containing common salt. Separating miscible liquids from each other. Liquids which dissolve in each other completely in all proportions are called miscible liquids. Mixture of miscible liquids can be separated into its compounds by distillation. Sublimation. Sublimation is a process in which the solid substances change directly into vapor without coming into liquid state. There are some substances like camphor, naushahadar, ammonium chloride, and iodine that change from their solid state directly into gaseous state on heating. On cooling the gaseous state of such substances, we get their pure form in a solid state. Distillation. We do not use pure water for drinking. It has some minerals dissolved in it. But chemists need pure water to use in medicines. Therefore, this water has to be purified. This pure water is called distilled water. It is obtained through distillation. In distillation, the solution is heated till it starts boiling and gets vaporized. This vapor is collected in a separate container and upon cooling the steam condenses to form water on the container. Salts dissolved in water are left behind and this water is now free of impurities. Process of making distilled water is called distillation. This process is also used to separate at 80 degrees Celsius and water that boils at 100 degrees Celsius can be separated by distillation. Separation of salt water mixture or salt solution by distillation. Pure water vapor. Salty water. Heat. Steam condenses. Pure water formed by condensation of steam. Keywords. Evaporation. Change of a material in liquid state into gaseous state by absorbing atmospheric heat. Centrifugation. Method of separating the fine particles suspended in a liquid by rotating the mixture at high speed. Crystallization. Process of separating pure crystals of a solid from a solution. Sediment. Insoluble impurities settle down at the bottom of a liquid. Distilled water. Purest form of water obtained by distillation. Sieve. A metal plate with holes, used for removing solid particles of different sizes. Loading. Adding weight to something for quickening sedimentation. Summary. Solids can be separated from other solids by winnowing, hand-picking, sieving, magnetic separation or sublimation. Loading is used to speed up sedimentation of fine solid particles in a liquid. Soluble solids can be removed from liquids by evaporation or crystallization. Immiscible liquids can be separated by a separating funnel. A pure substance is made up of only one kind of particles. A mixture is made up of two or more substances. The components of a mixture retain their properties. The process of winnowing is used for separating grains from husk. Filtration is a process of separating insoluble solids from liquids by using a filter. Crystallization is a process of obtaining a pure solid substance from its solution.